I fainted and woke up at the ICU on my job. And funny thing is, my first instinct wasn't, how am I doing or where am I? It was, oh, the client meeting. Hi, I'm Jason, and if you're new here, this is the JChang Express, where I help to encourage people to take the next best step and not what the expectations of society has been placed upon them. And yes, this is a video on why I quit my job. I hope that this is a bit more inspiring to those who feel like a failure and those who feel like they made a mistake because you didn't. And I'm learning that now, and I hope that my journey will inspire you to not be caught up in your past or caught up with what you should be or what you ought to be in the future. So let us stay present and let me tell you my story. So let me paint you a picture of my success. Let's see. I started doing life sciences with my bachelor's. I found that I didn't want to do research, so I kept trying. I tried internships in project management, marketing, and then I went to do my master's. After doing my master's, I landed this job, which is not an entry-level role in pharmaceutical sales. So good pay, good benefits. I had colleagues who I worked with before in my internship, and a great manager, great leadership. I had everything I needed and I wanted, right? On paper, I felt like I could do other people proud, but something wasn't quite right. Here was the actual picture. I'll wake up in the morning, take my medications for either my headache or my anxiety or my depression. That took a lot of time because it really messed with my emotions. I would try to work, and then in between work, I really needed quiet. So I will hide in my car. That's how I would eat my lunch. That's how I would do my administration and answer emails. And then I'll just be numb, sit in silence, sometimes just doing nothing. I couldn't even cry because my medications knocked all the emotions out of me. Head back to work, try to finish it. If I can't, to answer clients after work as well. I barely knew what I was eating, what I was doing. I couldn't converse with people. I couldn't maintain my relationships with other people. I just was completely out of it. And it was painful because at night, when I was supposed to rest, I can't rest because, well, I was stressed out. But most of all, I just had this pain. It hurt not only because physically it hurt, but it hurt to know that, hey, maybe I have everything in the world and it wasn't for me. But here's where I messed up. I was in denial. You know, many of us feel like mental health is just something that you can push aside or push away. And that's what I thought most of my life. I was bullied when I was young, and I tried to end it all by unaliving myself. But luckily I survived. And I thought, yeah, that's all I need, right? That's just all I need to do is to find a reason to live and a reason to keep going. But I kept going, ignoring a lot of these things inside of me. And I didn't know how to express them or have someone help me with it until I was 17 and my insomnia really took hold of me. I've been told that, I was having depressive thoughts and anxious thoughts. So I thought, okay, so I sought therapy, and like medicine or like seeing a doctor for a flu. Yeah, just take it over a course of time and move on. Why would I want to be stuck with this forever, right? Well, no. So little did I know, your body responds. Yeah, I started having chronic migraines, like I mentioned, that just got worse and worse. Started with a few days and it kept becoming a throbbing pain. I wake up in pain. I go to bed in pain. I already have insomnia, so I didn't know maybe the lack of sleep was part of it too. Yeah, and I couldn't eat well. I couldn't exercise. None of the healthy habits or the tools that I wanted to use could be done. The only thing that worked was pain medication. And I tried different SSRIs and everything, and none of that worked. So in a way, my job was killing me, literally. And that's hard to accept when, it's supposed to be everything that you should be, but it's not. And this was something that even when I fainted and woke up in the hospital, I couldn't. So what do I do with all that, Well, that leads me to the next part. I quit my job, and that was definitely not an easy thing to do. As I mentioned, I sought help and, I did some therapy coaching to other doctors to help with my headaches and sleep. I spent most of my income on trying to get up the next day just to go to work. Money aside, I feel like the most important thing was that I talked to people in the industry, my colleagues, my friends, and most importantly, my managers and leaders in my company, and I'm fortunate. Very seldom do I hear managers spending time to talk about these things with the employees, and it helped me give me a clear vision to kind of my career path. One thing is they were concerned about my health, so I felt like they were trying to help me by not giving me too much pressure, but me wanting to be ambitious and wanting to do more, like I felt like I was constantly being disappointed and disappointing people, which is maybe true or to some extent, but definitely not how I envisioned it in my head. But worst of all, I felt like I lived this fantasy that I just needed to suffer and get through this part and learn the skills so that I could get to where I want to go. Which at that point in time, I thought, marketing manager or director, and probably in a good company like the one I was in, I thought maybe 3 to 5 years, that will be enough for me to get there if I was, hardworking enough. Well, turns out that's not the case. Most companies, it's about luck, and moving up a ladder, you kind of need to make sure that, well, firstly, you're good enough, and secondly, there has to be some restructuring, right? Like most of my seniors or directors or managers, they've been there for decades. So I realized that if I can't find any joy in my current role and I'm not building any skills and developing, wow, that honestly made me feel worse. So at the end of my probation of 6 months, we decided, okay, that was a good time for me before any other major changes happened for me to leave the company. And I didn't have any energy or any time spent looking for another job before I left. So I was unemployed for a while. And yes, I've found work to do now, but that was scary because I had all these plans for the future. Yeah, but turned out to be a very transformative time for me. And perhaps I would learn how to not regret that decision. So what's the big lesson here? Is it to quit your job? Is it to stay in your job? Is it to start a side hustle and, do your best? Or is it to focus on therapy and going to fix all things that's happening inside of you? There's no right answer to this. And I don't think any guru out there who's telling you there's a right answer is serving you well, because each of us have different circumstances and we just do the best we can in any situation we're in. That's why it's always the next best step for you. What I want to encourage anyone who was probably in a horrible position and they got themselves out of it, maybe they're going through it now, is to look for that smallest step that you can do. Because I feel like if you have all these expectations to do all these productive things or things that benefit you, but you don't do it, like what's the point, right? We talk about diets. If you can't eat a certain diet, it's better to take a slightly unhealthier diet, but moving your way forward. I strongly believe in that. And if you need anyone to give you permission to do so, let me be the one to do so. Because I know that I'm not so far removed and so successful in anything yet, but I'm still trudging through life. And I still believe that as long as we hold each other accountable and we come together as a community of people, being vulnerable and stop showing only the highlight reels, stop telling people that, oh, it's so easy to change and life is so easy, because it's not. Let us be more real with how life is. And then through it, find some meaning, some purpose. Even if you don't, just keep trying. And maybe you'll be like, what's the point? And I sometimes take the absurdist point of view and just think, wow, that's how tragic life is? That's kind of sad, but kind of funny. Well, I guess if it's already this sad and if this is for everybody, then I'll just focus on what you can do. Yeah, maybe that's not your cup of tea, but I would love to know, how do you feel when life feels meaningless and hopeless? I hope this community can serve and help each other and bring each other up, but ultimately, just want to remind you, I'm not a licensed professional. If you want and you think you need help, please seek help. I cannot stress that enough. Other than that, if you like, take the small step, click the subscribe button, the follow button, and the like button, and join this community by hopping on the JChang Express. And that's all. Thank you.